Hey folks, this is Tolly and welcome to some more game dev. Coming back again today, looking at adding some more cutscenes as we work our way towards finishing chapter 1 basically. Yesterday we took a look at kind of balancing a little bit of the item distribution and adding a few more items to the game for our progression system, as well as just kind of fixing a few bugs and just thinking about the different routing we want players to be able to take in chapter 1. I ended that stream with wanting to go think about basically how I want to balance the experience and like how much differentiation I want in the play experience, and I kind of landed on just wanting to focus on the mainline direction. We'll have branching paths as we go, but I think the easiest way for me to design this is going to be to just build the mainline route, and then we'll come in after and add alternate kind of side paths that players can explore once we have a better idea of how the base experience is going to work. We'll see if that works. I'm not 100% sure it will, but I feel like I've in my 15 years of designing, most of the work has not been like linear storytelling in this way, which is part of the reason why I like working on this side project. Is it allows me to kind of build up elements of my design repertoire and software engineering skill sets that I maybe haven't been able to do professionally. If that makes any sense at all. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty happy with where we are currently at with this section. We've got the next few rooms all kind of laid out. I have changed a little bit of the stat numbers on the mini slimes, as well as kind of tweaked some of their ability timings so that the enemies get a couple of extra hits on us. But otherwise, it's feeling, and with those modifications, it's feeling pretty good to me. We've also added these cutscenes. I've also added this cutscene after we've done our first slash attack. That has been a fun little journey I want to go through real quick. So the way we got that up and running... Oh shoot. The way we got that up and running is we have essentially a system called metrics that we built, which is this one here, which contains basically a list of metric IDs and a number of events. And I created a new event called ability used /, and this is being called whenever the player performs the slash ability. So the slash ability now has a new type of ability effect associated with it. Down here called post notification, and it sends this message. So anytime the player performs slash, the very last thing it's going to do is say that this ability was used, essentially. And the metric system is going to count those. And it'll count that indefinitely. So if we wanted to, we could have a stat screen that shows you how many times you've used slash, for example. But the nicer thing is inside of our flag system, we can have metric-based flags. And so this one here, first slash, is a metric type flag that is going to be looking at the metric slash performed. And at count 1, it will be completed. And I added this new field to our flags for metrics specifically, although technically I think I could add this to any of our other flag types, which is a cutscene trigger. So once the metric slash performed has reached 1, this flag will be notified and this flag will be set to complete. And then once it's set to complete, it will fire this trigger. I'm pretty happy with this because it means that pretty much anything that can be a metric, aka anything that can listen for a notification event, can now have a flag associated with it, which can trigger a cutscene. And I think this is going to help a lot when it comes to several different cutscenes I want to have being performed mid-combat or at certain stages in the game. So I'm happy with that system, built that yesterday in between streams. Additionally, one thing I was working on this morning before we started stream, which I'm hoping won't give us problems, but I'm going to call it out in case it does become an issue, is I've added this new flag preset, which we've been using mainly through this like main override. So the game was looking at this main override and saying whatever preset was here. This is the flags we would have set to complete when we would start. But what I was finding is every time we went to specific areas, I'd be like, oh, I want to go into this room. Now I want to have the before mace turned on for this. And I was finding I was constantly switching these in here, but really it was a per scene experience. And so I've realized it's going to just be easier if we come into here and we just have this as a part of each of these scenes. So if we're loading up this scene from debug, we can have a preset already defined. So every time we load this room, it will have that set of flags, making it easier to test certain parts of the game. Now, that being said, there are some areas like this one here where you have a couple of different states you might want to test. So this one has like post slime fight would be one that would be very useful for seeing the waterfall section. But if you don't want to hit the waterfall section, you might want to do one of these other ones. Oh, I think this is first slime would be when we're coming in to fight the slime the first time, and then post slime would be useful for if you wanted to skip this one and go right to the waterfall scene. I think there's still more work to be done here, but just the way we've been using it, it feels like we kind of more want these presets per the level we're looking at, and usually it's fairly consistent when we want those presets. So like, I don't think I would ever want anything in this one here other than after sword. So after you've come in here and picked up the sword ability for the first time, I think that if I was ever loading this map from debug, I probably want to be in that state. Maybe that turns out to be not true as we get into further and further runs, but I like this idea, and I'm hoping it doesn't cause us any problems because it was put together literally minutes before we started stream. Okay, so that's kind of a recap of what we've done off camera, and today, I mostly want to focus on essentially completing this loop. So we have this little cutscene that's meant to be read as comedic. I don't know if it's working fully, but that's what I'm trying. And we've kind of got a little bit of a tutorial on the enemy. I've tuned the enemy numbers so that they take 3 hits instead of 2. That's feeling a little bit better. They felt a little too weak on 2 hits, but we also don't want these enemies to require any complex combat like strategy at all. We just want to let the player have a somewhat safe experience fighting these little slimes, but I want them to require a couple more hits. One sec. All right, sneezing complete. All right, so happy with this. Got some items dropping. We can pick up some items. The next part of the game we're going to get to, though, is going to be when we find the adventurer. Now, one thing I'm noticing is I think for some of these presets, it would also be nice to be able to set our initial starting time to potentially a lower value. So like if you're playing through normally, your save state would have you at a point where you might have less time than this. For example, the boar is still here at this point. I think we would want to have triggered the adventurer lost. But I guess that's how I'm doing it here, is this event happens when you reach a certain time track. And so I guess, I don't know, it's debatable, but I feel like I might want to have the time be another debug value. If we come into here, before my mace, if that's set up here, and then this is the west side. I also added this little drop down to more easily switch between which side of the room we want to come in on. I have not deleted the original like entity spawn point because it's still useful for some rooms where we spawn in from kind of special spawn locations, like when we lightning strike into position. But for here, I might want to swap back and forth between the entrance here on the south side versus the west side. So having this be a drop down is going to be easier than copy and pasting the strings. Okay, so if we're coming in this way and we have the before mace set and it is enabled, I also feel like I might want to move this enabled call to the global scene as well, because it feels like that's the point where I'm going to want to be swapping it on and off more likely. But I think this cutscene is the one I want to work on next today, is we pick up this mace. And then I think I want more dialogue here. I want to take a look at my notes for dialogue. Bring this over here. What do I have written up for this section? Cool. We're mostly adding at this point. We've got 3 more lines of dialogue I want to add to this scene. This should just be mace pickup. So let's start here. Let's go full middle screen inspector because it's easier to see. We need to add 5 entries. We can do goddess here, hero, and then goddess again. And then we want the voice lines to be, or sorry, not voice lines, the text lines to be want to try again. Try again, what does that mean? I will just accelerate time. I don't know if I like this line. Maybe it should be a callback to a previous line we've had where it's again it will be easier to show you. Maybe that's a better way to write this. I don't like writing lines on dialogue lines on camera. We'll just say that's fine. I'm going to replace the I will accelerate time with this one in my notes as well. Okay, so then this should be based off of the camera position. We could do top left on this one, I think, and same thing here, top left. Medium, medium, and then hero can be top center. This can be close self. This one can be stay open. This one can stay open. This can be stay open, and this can be close all. I think that's probably a good starting point here. And now for the actual cutscene itself, we have the Omni weapon pickup, and then we have 3 more pieces of dialogue. I think I want to have a move in between. So we're going to do a cutscene, navigate to tile. We're going to put this before the if I was only quicker line. We're going to add 1 position, I think. We'll have hero move to maybe 10-10. See how that feels. So the hero's kind of looking at where the adventurer has died and fallen into the river. And then I want to make sure that hero's facing the right way. This happens a lot, and I wonder if I might want to make a combined version of this sequence step so that I don't have to add 2 of these all the time. But we keep having situations where we want to move the player to a specific spot and then immediately after they move, set their facing to a specific area. So I feel like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's take a small detour. We're going to do navigate to direction. Let's look here. I guess, no, technically navigate to tile. We'll copy this. We'll make a new sequence step, which will be navigate to tile and face. With facing. I think I like and. Cool, let's go with that. And this will basically just do a combination. Oh, it'll still need to be a tile-based sequence step because it'll need to pass the information down. This is a bit wordy. give this a try. Yeah, and I think this just passes the information down. It doesn't do anything crazy. I suppose I could find the tiles. Instead of looping through and doing all this logic, I think it can just make sure it's clearing the sequence steps, and then do sequence step dot add a new sequence step for what is this? Navigate is what we actually want. Navigate to tile. And it just needs to pass in the board, the unit, and the list of tiles, which in this case is targets. And then we want to combine this with the set unit facing sequence step. What does that need to take? That just needs an entity ID or game object. You know what? If I'm going to be honest, I hate the sequence step in general, to be honest. If I can be honest, to be honest, it's repetitive. But anyways, my point is that I find when I'm adding this one, I also don't like that every time I have to put in the information, I have to put in a unit. This entity-based sequence step takes a list of entity IDs, which when I built it made sense because it was like, oh, I might want to have multiple entities be have the logic of the sequence step applied to it, so making this a list seems useful. But in some use cases, I just don't need it to be a list. It could just be a single entity. And I think I've started to see that in some situations like this one, where this is having an entity ID. How far down the rabbit hole of refactoring do we want to go today? Okay. Let's... I'm sorry, this is only used in 4 locations? That seems insane to me. That can't be right, because I'm not even seeing... There's 2 of them? There's an entity-based sequence step and an entity-based sequence... Oh, because this one is a sequence type and this is a default sequence step logic. Oh man, that means there's 2 variations I need to mess with as well. I don't love this naming scheme, because technically I feel like this one should have been entity-based sequence step and this should have been entities, but I don't know, maybe that's hard to read anyways. So maybe having it be single entity-based is a little bit more legible. This will still need to return a game object, and this will need to be string dot is not empty or null instead of checking the count. If it's empty or null, exit this entity build call. We don't need to clear the list, and we don't need to go through a for loop. We simply need to try and get the entity out and set the entity's game object to the internal tracked one. And this becomes this value, and this becomes this value. Okay, so this is a simpler version. And so in this context, I can't just replace it here because this is going to break all of our facings for every single cutscene that we've built so far. See if I have any errors, and then I'm going to give this a little thought. What did I mess up? Oh, I never finished building this one. Did I just not save? Oh, I didn't finish this part is what it's complaining about. If we wanted to fix all the spots where we're setting a direction for a unit to use single, like, I just don't even know how many different entities use that. Does this work? Can I do a check on set unit? No, for whatever reason it can't see my sequence steps. So this search window isn't helpful to me. Because if I could track down every asset that's using the sequence step, I could like maybe write something that converts them. Because they're just mostly serialized out as a string file, so I should be able to just edit its data, essentially. And, like, it feels like we're already too far gone, but we're only going to add more and more cutscenes. So if I'm finding this annoying here, and I want to just set this to be a single field, like, this one makes sense to have a list because we might want to set multiple enemies in the room to attack as part of a cutscene. I could see that being the case. But for this one, if we want to set multiple units, I almost feel like in this situation, we could just do multiple entries. Plus, I doubt every unit is going to want to face the same way. If we want to set multiple characters' facings, we might have them, like, look at each other or look at a specific, look around in different directions. Like, I don't think this one makes sense to be a list. The other option is we can make another version of this sequence step and then phase it out. Yeah, I think I like that direction. So where does this live? This exists here. We're going to make a new copy here. We're going to call this set unit facing sequence step. Direction is what it's called. I don't want to change that word. I guess we could keep the same naming scheme, but this seems worse. Okay, well... And I feel like I actually want this in cutscene, because I feel like I keep trying to find it in here. Set single unit facing. This can still just, well, it probably, if we want to tell whether or not we're using the right one, we can tell by the parameters, because the parameters will be different. Single entity-based sequence step. And then instead of doing this, it can just do that. So it'll build the entity component, which will come in here, and as long as it's not empty, it'll try and find the entity by that game object ID. But then the nice thing about this is I think we can also have a constructor in here. One second. many sneezes today. Okay. Now we can also have a constructor in here that takes in a unit directly if we happen to have one. And then we can just set the unit and we can have it so the invoke bypasses this call if it doesn't need it. If unit equals null, do this logic to try and find one. Otherwise, if we already have a unit, just set its direction so we can skip some of these get calls in some situations. Yeah, and there's so many spots here where we're doing navigate to tile. All right. Let's use this here inside of our new combined version. And we should be able to just pass in the unit, and then we'll need to have the direction as a parameter here as well. Oh, that's funny. -1 is actually set to infinite search also. I've been constantly changing that to 64. I don't know if we need this, to be honest. I feel like we almost never set it. What if we just leave it as a private variable that is always set to -1? And if I need it, I can always make it serializable again so that we can modify it. But I don't think if we're in a cutscene, we want the player to walk to where we want them to walk to. So we kind of want to just override the range and just say that it's able to pass as much as it wants. We need to add this here. We override the range, but we still need to validate the tile we're trying to walk to is walkable. So we still need this aspect of the if statement. Cool. Oh, I also fixed this in between stream. This is why the character wasn't walking around the sword a few days ago when we were trying to have the character get into position to pick up the sword from the right tile. This was the problem, was we weren't checking when searching the board to make sure the tile we're trying to go to is actually walkable. Okay. I think this cleans this up nicely. Then this doesn't need any of this other logic, I don't think. All of this is about like trying to set up abilities and move the player. Now we simply need... Oh, but targets is not set to anything by default. When does targets actually get populated? We clear it. I see. Okay, we do want to pass in this value, and we don't want to worry about any of this. So this is mostly just a sequence step that is calling other sequence steps and passing along the information they would normally need, but it's simplifying them so that we don't need as much data to be put in. And then we don't need the -1 in here at all, actually, because it'll be defaulted to -1 when we construct this, and we're not passing any information in. We need to make this fix here, though. Okay. So yeah, this is just a sequence step that takes some parameters and then passes it directly into this one. It does do the searching for it so that it can kind of not have to do it twice. Technically, it could have just passed the data in directly and let this one do the search, but we kind of want to find the unit for the set direction anyways, so this is a little bit more efficient doing it here. These are all set up properly. That looks good. And this all looks fine and fine. Great. So then if we go back into the scene we were working on before we got derailed with this refactor that's been bothering me for a little while now, and we look at the mace pickup, we were going to add a move to tile 10 and face a specific direction. In theory, we should be able to do cutscene, navigate to tile, and facing. And if we open this up, we should be able to navigate to a specific position. And have it be player. We are not seeing the correct information. That is because we have errors that need to be cleaned up. This is a problem. That can be fixed. What's the other one? Unity's slowing down a little bit too. We might want to close and reopen everything. Perfect. So now this has a blocking value, has some positional data, and then has the player. It'd be kind of nice if this was below the blocking value, but I guess that's there because it's inheriting the position information from here. Yeah, so this comes in and gets serialized before its own values. We could add position directly to, or sorry, blocking directly to this one, but there are some that don't need it or don't use it. Yeah, like this one never needs the blocking value and really shouldn't have it added to it. You don't want to have a sequence step that can return null from its enumerator with blocking because it ends up trying to create a coroutine. It's a whole thing. But anyways, so yeah, so I can't just put the position in there. So I think that this is just the way we've got to live with it. Okay. This system only allows us to set facing on the final position move. I think that's fine. If we want to break it up more, we can have multiples of this sequence step. I think I'm okay with that concession. So this will set the facing at the very end when it's finished moving. And in this particular situation, we want the player to face whatever way this one was. Is that, yeah, facing east. Okay, I knew what that was. I just doubted myself. Where did our mace go? Mace pickup cutscene. I do kind of wish there was an easier way to find these. Like scrolling through the project sometimes feels like a pain. We could label things. How do we label these? I bet you we could label these. Search by label. None of these labels are my actual labels, though. Oh, that's an addressable label. No, we don't want to mess with that. Okay, nope. Oops. Oops, oops. That's not what we want. Okay, that's fixed. So that's an addressable label. How do we give this a... like, asset label? Is that what this is? No, that doesn't look right. Character, field, like... none of these are showing here, so I don't think it's an addressable label or an asset label. These are addressables. That's a preset. That's editing the script. How do we label something? Is it from the right click properties? That's just going to show me the inspector view. The quickest of Google searches. Okay, sorry. Unity asset label. Oh, does this have to do with the Unity Asset Store? Oh, these are not customizable labels. We can't search against that, I don't think. This one. Okay. Cool. And then how do I add a custom one? Oh, I just type it in? So if I want to just say cutscene, now that has a cutscene asset label. And then if I come in here, if I just search cutscene, it shows me all my cutscenes. And that's probably an L colon and then the type. All right. And then is there a way to edit that from code? Oh, very easy call. All right, let's do cutscene parser. We're already doing stuff with the objects, so we just need to do this with, or set this value on the asset, which is going to be this, I believe, should be the asset. Does it accept that? It does. And then what is it? Wants a list. Can I do a single set label? No, it does look like it wants a list of labels. I'm going to do a quick search in here. Go to yeah, I guess that makes sense. I can't do an individual set. You could do one quick Google search, asset database set label. Anything come up for that? No. Okay. So then if we just do new... Actually, I suppose we could hard code this up above. That might save us some amount of list. Let's just do a string array. String array labels equals new... Wait, how do I do... Yeah, new string array cutscene. Technically, that's my naming convention. Some of this stuff is not named correctly, but I'm not dealing with that today. Okay, so now... Ooh, actually, another thing I did off camera recently was I added to the scriptable... the sequence scriptable... I added a custom parser to every single one of these, which is basically doing the same logic, which I would love to have these be shared so that they're not doing the same things, but the cutscene parser is an editor script, and it seems like it can't find the editor script from a non-editor script, so I ended up copying it. I'm not sure if there's a way to share. Maybe if the data was in a non-editor script, the editor script could access it. I hadn't tried setting it up that way, but regardless, if I come into here and I hit update, this should now have that label. It already did. If we go to a different one and hit update, it adds it. And if we go into our tool and parse every cutscene, which takes a second. I don't love that I have to type in cutscene and it doesn't show it up here, but that has now labeled every one of our cutscenes. Which is not as helpful as I would have hoped. I suppose I can use this to get to the folder structure more easily, so I can like navigate to these. But because we name, like, it almost would make sense to name these assets their trigger names, because that's the folder structure we put them in. It's in the Demon Castle in this room, and this is the cutscene within that room. And it would be nice when searching for these if it showed that information, so I could more easily navigate through and be like, oh, I want to find a cutscene in Woods. Yeah, like Mace Pickup is here. Yeah, because it's in alphabetical order, which is not as helpful for us. Unlockable characters with the hydrate. Appreciate it. Okay. Neat side adventure, but not super helpful because of the way that it's sorting the data. I do think it's kind of neat to be able to go in here and be like, oh, cutscenes, click on one, and then find the folder I want more quickly. Can I preference this? Let me take a quick look in preferences. Edit. Preferences, searching, labels? No, I'm not seeing a way to change the default values. Okay. And we can do a quick Google search. Unity set default asset labels. I am not seeing it off the cuff. Okay. I'll dig into that more off camera, but I feel like there's something here. There's some merit to this system that I am not fully utilizing. And I think I don't want to do it right now, but if I rename all of these objects, nothing should care what the name of this object is. The name of the object is only for the project view. We care what its addressable ID is, and we care about like its trigger name. But if we were to just go through in here as part of our processing, and we grab the addressables, we grabbed its name, and we just set it to its trigger name, that should just update all of them for us. Out of curiosity, how does the cutscene editor system work? Cutscene We have a window that like construct them for us. What is that called? Cutscene create. Editor. No, none of these seem correct. This thing. Sequence metadata would be the thing that should help us narrow it down. Create cutscene sequence. When this constructs them, does it build a name for them? Like, at some point we call create, right? Yeah, we do sequence name. If we just swap this to trigger name, also known as ID name, they could all just be updated with that as their value. I guess the downside to this system, if we did that, would that these names would get really long and the information we actually care about would be at the end. But again, if we were to sort them this way, it would be more readable, but it'll be less readable in the project. Okay, I'm gonna give that some thought. There's definitely some interesting things there that I think could help with our workflow, because I feel like I'm spending a lot of time having to scroll to find this specific area. And I feel like as we add more and more and more of these cutscenes, we're going to want to have some way of more easily navigating and finding them. Maybe it's even a like custom window of some kind where I can like display all of the cutscenes. Like I find them myself in code and then have like a display window similar, basically recreate my own project window. I bet you I could do that. But you know what that's not? That's not building a video game, that's building tools to build video games. And we're probably fine to just build. I would probably spend a day or two building something like that, and then shave probably less than that time off of my normal workflow. We want to face east here. Okay. Wow, that was a derail. How long did I talk? An hour? This is why I get nothing done. I'm also having fun though. I'm trying to I feel like I've spent the first week stressing that I was going too slow building everything, and then I'm trying to come around to the other side of no, we got a lot done. Even if we finish, if we were to fast forward to January 19th and I was like, okay, this is all I have, I would still want to show this to people and probably, at least let them play through all the cutscenes I've built so far, even if there isn't a lot of actual gameplay. Doesn't like something. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so position data was not correct. That's going to be because this version doesn't have any position information because we've already found the tiles. So this should have a if tiles equals count. Oh, this is actually tricky. Because we could do a if count equals 0 find tiles. So that if the tiles have been set, we don't need to worry about trying to find them. But it's important to remember that these sequence steps are held inside of a scriptable object, so information can be carried over between runs. So we need a way to know, was this set through a constructor, or was this data that was carried over from the previous run? All of these should be causing that problem as well, actually. Interesting. Maybe it's smart enough to know board is equal to null because the board has been deleted. Same with the unit, but this situation would not work, I don't think. I don't know why we do this with a singleton. Why am I not just, like, using the instance directly? It's not, like, saving me that much. In fact, it's probably costing me a little memory, a little bit of memory to store the board reference. I don't know. Whatever. So, how do I fix this? Oh, I guess the obvious solution is if positions count is equal to 0, does not equal 0, find the tiles. Otherwise, assume that we have already got the tiles built. Sure, that's probably a fine fix. Where is this used? Do we run into this problem anywhere else? No, everywhere else we just assume that this is coming directly from a scriptable asset. Oh, this already has that call built into it. Weird. Oh, wait, what was the error? Oh, the error is this is never set. If this is constructed via a scriptable sequence object, it exists and is set to something. But in this context, because it's created in code, it is not set to anything. So we need a if equals null check first, or its count is equal to 0, then return. Okay, and then we don't need to worry about this inside of here because it's already being handled. Sure. All right, let's give that a try. Pick this up, absorb it, hero walks over, and it ends because we have not added the extra pieces. Okay, so then from here we can have a little conversation with Hero and the goddess, and then I have not thought about this, but we kind of want to accelerate time. We don't have a good way of showing that right now. What if we did the opposite of gain time? What if we had a sequence step that was like set time? How would that work? Can we currently modify the time directly? I don't think we can. We can only... No, we can advance time by an amount. And when it advances time by that amount, it will still show the timer ticking down. Will it properly... Yes, it will properly tell if it's gone to 0. It will run the out of time sequence. Okay, where's this used? Only as part of debug right now. I don't think this is necessarily required to be only debug. So if we made a new sequence step that... Oh, you know, actually, I think we want something even more specific. Instead of advanced time by... we want to reduce time to 0, and then we probably want to just grab the current time. Can we do that? It doesn't look like we can. Because it doesn't want to share that information externally. That's fine. We can just make another function that says advance time to 0. And then this can handle... Honestly, just set the value to 0. I think this coroutine handles looping forever. Okay. So we shouldn't need to worry about this. If it's tallying, it'll continue to tally to 0. If it's less than 0, it'll reset the clock and set it to true, which I assume is just setting our time back to the original time, but not setting the UI time. So the UI time will still show as 0. Okay. So then we just do this. We don't need a parameter. We know this is always going to return true, which is a little odd. I suppose we could just do that instead. And this could be simplified out to just call reset clock and then get rid of all of the parameterization, or just get rid of the return type is what I mean. Okay. Simple. Then we just need to make a new sequence step. So this one here existed inside of backend. So we'll make a new one, which is a sequence step to reduce time to 0. Reduce time to 0 sequence step. And then I guess consistency, we can add the spaces. This shouldn't need any parameters, and hopefully that won't break anything. Reduce time to 0 is all this is going to do, but I do think it wants a custom weight, actually. Because we want to wait till the time is done. Do we have any way of knowing when the UI is finished updating time? Yeah, I guess tallying is the way that we do that. So can we check that value externally somehow? Currently, clock state tallying. No, it's only used within these calls. So we'll need another new call, which is tallying, which will just return this value. And then we have to make sure this is exposed inside of the manager. Is tallying. We won't be... Yeah, we don't need to do anything else. We just need to return this. It's just a encapsulation function. Maybe this one should be clock, just to kind of add a little bit more clarity for this function, because there are a lot of encapsulated functions inside of our backend state manager. And then in here, we need a... Oh, shoot. Wait until... Where's a good example of this? I'm going to do this by find all in a solution. See if we can find another sequence step that does this. Perfect. So we want to do this, and we want to check against instance.isTallying. I guess we want the opposite though. we want to wait until this is not true. And then this probably wants a blocking. No, I think we'd always want this to be blocking. I don't think this should be optional blocking. Okay, cool. So then we'll do this. One last thing I'd like to quickly try. This might completely break our entire engine. We have a debug timescale tool that I use from time to time that just increases the timescale. I don't think this has caused us any problems in the past. So what would it look like if we just use this? We don't really use this as part of our core gameplay. We only ever use it for debugging. But I'm curious if this will make the fog and everything, the animations, look like they're sped up as the clock ticks down. We could also use some UI elements to show like a speed or something. I'm like thinking the Persona like time, like when you're skipping a cutscene, you see like that time kind of like effect on the top and bottom of like, you know, fast lines. But let's start here and see how this is feeling. Okay, new functionality. Yeah, I don't know if that's faster. Reduce time to 0. We do want to show that this is a blocking function, so we'll just add that to its properties so that my UI, custom UI editor thing will pull this forward. Because basically if something's popped to the edge, it means it's blocking. If it's indented, it's not blocking. So that reduces time. And then I don't think we need to add an actual like timeout, play the game over, because this should also just end the run. Oh, but it might end the run too quickly, because it's going to trigger the cutscene immediately. Because as soon as we reduce it to 0, it won't wait for my sequence step to be done. It will say we're out of time. Yeah, it's doing it too quickly. Okay. This is also a debug call, but we might be able to just use that as well. So if we just wait until after and then do backend state manager instance dot skip clock, that's the same as doing it inside of this call. It's a little specialized. I think it'll be okay though. That failed. It almost looked like it ticked down. Oh, we never saved. It still feels like this part is ending too quickly, like it's saying tallying is false too fast. And I'm not seeing the UI update correctly either if we were actually reducing time to 0. What did I get wrong? Advance time to 0. Set time remaining to 0. Oh, there's like a little bit of specialized code, a little bit of a hack here that says that if the difference between time remaining minus UI time is greater than 0, then just fill it immediately rather than tallying. But I guess in this situation, it would still be that this is 0 and this is negative, so it'll be a negative number. So this won't apply. And if these don't equal each other, it should count down. Wait, which one is being used? There's 2 of these, and they do basically the same thing. This one is used as part of update time. Oh, tally experience is a bad name. It's probably a copy and paste from our progression system. But this is increasing time. This is decreasing time. Yeah, alright, fine, whatever. Like, it should be taking a very long time to empty the time meter. Oh, it's filling up. Oh, that's funny too. Okay. So technically we don't check for end of time until the turn ends. Oh, there's some weirdness going on here. Do I solve it or do I just fix it? Like, do I figure out what the weirdness is or do I just work around the weirdness? I kind of want to figure it out. Okay, so we're reducing time to 0. That's counting up. Let's figure out that part because there's multiple problems here. This is counting up. So time remaining 0 should be counting down. But instead, this ends up counting up to max time. Oh, because it's resetting the clock, isn't it? Right. So reset clock is setting it to max time. So we can't do this here. Oh, there's so many issues with this. Okay, so that's calling advanced time. So we kind of need to break this into 2 halves. So we can't call the reset. We're going to need to call that externally. So we're going to need to have a... This is a public call. I don't like adding all of this external to the state machine. It's like revealing too much of its information in some regards, but we'll add a reset call for now. And that'll have to be called by our sequence step here to reset clock. And then skip clock is going to end the run, which is going to set a bunch of stuff. Oh, which is also resetting the clock. Okay, so then we don't even need this. Because it'll just happen inside of this one. Alright, fine. So yeah, we just need to get rid of it from the reduced time to 0. And then it'll also call the out of time cutscene, and it will trigger it. And when it triggers it, this should be queued up to happen at the end of the turn. And the cutscene, when it ends, should be checking for any end of turn sequences and firing them. But for some reason it's not. Okay, we'll figure out that part in a second. But this should at least have us count down to 0. And maybe the other part just gets fixed because something was, you know, checking whether or not we were at max time at the wrong time or something. I don't know. We also need to have... Timescale is working. The fog is moving more quickly. Hero is idling fast. But it almost feels like it's too slow still. Yeah, and at this point it should have queued up the out of time and it should have activated, but it's waiting one turn before it does. Oh, you know what? This is because I added a bad piece of code, or I modified something the other day. I'm still looking into this, but the piece of code we added to fix this bug, because this is a bug we fixed a while ago here, I think is causing some animation popping. When you're moving while there's an enemy on the screen, it adds a 1 frame delay, which is causing the character's animation to break. So I need to find a better way to solve this. But essentially, there's a piece of code we need to add that says do not end the turn until we've checked all of our until we have finished loading all of our cutscenes, basically. Because the cutscene is still loading when we go to check to see whether or not there's one that needs to be played. Yeah, so this is almost too slow. I don't know if we really want to go too much faster, but... Okay, now it properly plays. If we go here, I just want to double check that bug. If we turn that back on, and we make this board spawn all, is there animation popping while the enemy is on screen? I'm not sure if this enemy is moving. I might need to modify its patrol path. Did we fix that already? We have not. Honestly, just one tile movement should be enough. Bouncing around a lot today. Sorry, folks. I don't know if it's easy to follow. It normally isn't regardless, but... Oh, we still have this animation turned on, or this cutscene turned on. I'm just going to enter from the other side real quick. So we'll enter from the north spawn point, which will bring us in here, and we won't have to worry as much about the cutscene triggers. Yeah, I'm not seeing an animation popping. If there's an animation popping, it's usually pretty clear. We can slow things down a little bit. Because it basically goes back to idle for 1 frame. So it looks fine. Okay. Sure. I'm going to leave that code enabled. Maybe I was a little overly concerned when I commented that stuff out. Anyways, cool. So the timeout is working. We now have the goddess accelerating time. Couple of small bugs. This is not using the proper interact cutscene. It's using the old one. So we need to grab interact with cutscene or with screen, which will add the black bars, which will help with some of the dialogue boxes looking so wonky. Use this ability for triggering instead. And then the positioning of some of the dialogue boxes were a bit off. I want this one to be top center, I think. Bottom, top left, top center, top left, top center, top left. I feel like her top left is interfering with Hero a little bit, so hers might need to be changed to right of center, but I'm gonna double check one more time. Magnus with the hydrate. Hope you're having Having a good day. New Year's Eve, I believe. Time's become a bit squirrely for me with having so much time off. It's hard to keep track. Everything's just JRPG / infinite retries personal development stuff every day. And I'm loving it. Okay, let's zoom in a bit. And then hydrate. So on a full drain, this feels like too much, but likely you're going to get here with only like an hour left, I would guess. You won't have a ton of time remaining, so it may not be so bad. Yeah, we should do a natural playthrough. Get an idea of how much time will actually be left. In terms of dialogue boxes, I think we will change the goddess to right of center. We can also try changing hero to a slightly more right aligned as kind of anchor as well. Like hero could be right of center, or could be top right or top left, whichever one it is. That could create some more spacing between the goddess's text box. But I think the way this scene is set up, her talking down here should be fine. It will cut off a little bit of the space that we're trying to highlight. Yeah, okay. I think I want to tweak Hero's dialogue boxes then. And we can do that live. I forgot about this, but we can modify them while the game is running. We discovered this by accident the other day. And I think this is a good situation to try that. So if we do... Wrong one. Which one did we just modify? That one. Okay, if we do top left, I think that should give us the spacing we need. This also doesn't need to be a medium, I don't think. Nor does this one. These both can be small, which will also reduce the footprint quite drastically. And then I think the goddess could be top left again if these were... like that. Covering a big chunk of the screen, but we want our focus down here is what we will be trying to get the player's eye to travel towards. Goddess I want to keep top left, and then hero would be top left. I think this next one does need to be a medium. We can try small and see how it goes. Yeah, okay. I think that I like the anchoring on that. Let's try a full run from landing. Which setup do we want for this? Probably after slime defeat. Post slime fight. So this will be after you failed to the slime. So this will have the waterfall cutscene. Yeah, I think this should be a good representation of the run in which you would actually get there. That doesn't look right. This is missing a flag. Yeah, this is missing a flag. That's fine. Yeah, when I was setting these ones up, I did not position some of this right? Or is this just not enabled? Oh, it's just not enabled. That makes more sense. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, full playthrough after you've failed to this slime. Okay, that's working. This will be our first time being introduced to the adventurer. Oh, this cutscene broke. Interesting. Okay. The movement in some of these other ones seems to be working okay, so why is that one busted? I'll look at that after. Let's just try and get an idea of how much time the player will have when they get to the mace. This is also an optimal run. Technically, I want to see what the worst case looks like in terms of having the most time when that triggers. Because I'm not wandering around and checking every corner of the map as I do this. I'm kind of beelining it to right where the exits are because I know where they are. So I'm not doing a ton of exploring, which would eat up more time. Looks like about half. Which is pretty generous, but that's kind of what I want. I want to give the player the freedom to explore most of the maps and still be able to make it here in time. So you probably have about 2 hours or less. So assuming this is about worst case, it's a little long, but I don't know, it gives you time to recognize what's happening. Okay, cool. Let's say that's good. I'm going to say that that cutscene is in a good state. Now, let's quickly check what's going on with the cutscene for the trapped adventurer, because I'm not sure why that broke. Everything else seemed to be working fine. Let's change our spawn point to be from the south part of the map. And instead of before Mace, we're going to change it to post slime fight, which was the same state we were just in. Just want to see if it replicates first before we go digging. Yeah, still broken. Let's go take a look at Trapped Adventurer. Open it in this inspector. So navigate to tile 1410. Then navigate to tile 1713, which is this one. Is there a navigate before that? There is here. This one was minimized. 1413. Yeah, so should be trying to navigate to here. Has an override of 64. I don't know why that would be causing a problem. We have modified these files recently. But again, it's working in other situations. I guess I'll have to just quickly debug it. That's frustrating. Navigate to tile. How did I break this? I'm gonna guess it has something to do with this walkable. Like, it's trying to navigate through the water or something and failing? So make sure the first navigate works. It does, okay, so the character does navigate. Oh, and it's because the first navigate isn't a navigate to tile? Because we didn't hit this breakpoint, so it must be a navigate to direction? No, that can't be right. They're the same sequence step. Why did I see it hit this breakpoint after I saw Hero move? Maybe I'm just misremembering. Okay, did it find some tiles? It found one tile, 1413. Which is the tile we're asking it to go to. Okay, so it found the tile it wants to go to, but I guess I'm gonna guess this expand search isn't working because we have modified this. The distance is good. This is a walkable tile, so it should expand the search. It's going to add 1411 to the list of searchable locations. And then it's going to continue searching. 14.9 is a walkable tile, so it's going to add that to the list. So yeah, it's searching out around the grid, looking in all the spots. I'm going to just skip forward and see what targets it finds, because it's going to be hard to parse through everything in that search. So it wants to go to 1413, and its previous is null, which means when we did this search, it failed to find it. So it's not able to find that tile, but if I comment this out that says, hey, it has to be a walkable location, does it go back to working again? Because, like, it added 1411, so if we had have kept debugging, it should have eventually found that tile. Yeah, it has a previous tile now. And it works. Okay. Odd. What's even crazier is we saw it work perfectly fine in this room, because we hit the waterfall scene when we were testing a moment ago, and Hero like walked all the way over to here without an issue. So something about this map data is broken. Like, these are set to type wall, but it only applies that typing if it has a prop. Okay. I think there is maybe a real fundamental bug with the tiles. Like, maybe some data got saved and not cleared. We had an animating prop here at one point. Did that maybe not get cleaned up? Nope, prop loader is 0. Show metadata, prop loader 0. There's no prop on this, like, hidden prop that's, like, invisible or something inside of the, like, broken data. But for some reason, if we say only find this tile if it's walkable, or only search on walkable tiles, it's unable to find this tile from here, but it can find it normally. Okay. I'm not going to solve that right now, because that could take us... Oh, we're almost out of time anyways. We got another 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to document it. That's a shame. So by fixing the bug we had with wanting to navigate around props, we've somehow the fix has created a different bug, which is arguably worse. So we're just gonna, under the bug section, pathing not found. Okay, this cutscene's good. Let's make the next half of that cutscene. We're gonna go into the Goddess Realm, and I think we're going to disable skill tree unlock, because I think I'm gonna change this one to no longer be accessible early on. I think I want to replace this with a different cutscene, but I don't want to delete it. So I think what I'll do... Well, this is a weird hack, but we could do... This cutscene requires itself to be completed, which is basically impossible, and that'll allow us to keep it around and exist, but never be triggered. Yeah, okay. We could also maybe add a debug for, like, you know, inactive or something at some point, but we haven't needed to do this a lot, so I'm not super concerned. Let's make a new chapter 1 cutscene. So we'll go to our wizard for creating cutscenes. Did I get unlockable characters hydration? I don't remember. It's 3 minutes ago. I could always drink more water. Okay, so then we've got Goddess Realm. This will be a... For all of these, they're normally intros, so when you enter into the scene, if the trigger type is Goddess Realm, which is a trigger we fire whenever we enter into a new room, we're going to put this in Chapter 1, and we're going to call it... Adventurer Lost. Sure. Did I have a better name for that? A better name in my notes? I called it first timeout, but like you could time out before this. Yeah, I think I'm going to call this one Adventurer Lost. And then we're going to do... What was that? That can be a small bottom center from Hero. And then Goddess. The Demon Lord Resurrected. Spelling is still a problem. I need to do a pass on all of this. But a lot of these lines are just trying to get the idea across in a lot of spots. The Goddess will exist in this scene, so this can be a top center. Then the Goddess has... you'll need to stop his resurrection if you want to save Voswin. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, I got my notes. I figured it out. Okay, so we do want to call this first time out, and we actually want this to be based off of the first time the player runs out of time. And I think we can guarantee that whether or not it's from that cutscene or from naturally running out of time, it'll work either way. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. So you'll need to stop the resurrection if you want to save Voswin. Then we'll need one more line from Hero. Hero. Oh no, 2 more lines. But didn't he... Yeah, this line doesn't make any sense either. We're moving on. Bottom center. I will need to do a full editorial pass at some point. And then Goddess with a not yet, and then the Goddess is going to send us down. No? Not letting me undo? Alright, fine. I'll recopy it. And this will be top center. Okay, so we've got Hero says, what was that? Small dialogue. Bottom center stays open. Goddess says, top center... stay open. The Demon Lord resurrected. The miasma reached deadly concentration. Stay open. You'll need to stop him. Need to stop his resurrection if you are to save Voswin. And then I think I want to do the little like explanation point panic animation in between here. So I think having the Goddess close all dialogues, we'll have that little animation just kind of break up the text. And then we can have a stay open from Hero on bottom center, and then a medium. This can be small. What were the sizings on these? This is a small dialogue. This is medium. Medium closes all. Hero. Oh, that also works well because we want this one to be a medium. So then when it reopens, that'll be fine. And then this will reopen with a small. Stay open, close all. Yeah, okay, that all looks right. Bottom center. Bottom center, anchoring, just double checking. There. Top center, bottom center, top center. Okay, cool. So that looks right. Let's create that. So minimize these to get my buttons back. Create sequence. That'll build that cutscene for us. Generating the assets we need. All right, and then what is it called? It's like cutscene, or is it UI reveal icon? What is that one called? The little pop-up that I do sometimes. It must be a UI related thing. I missed it. That's allocate animation UI, which is more generic, but we have one for specifically showing the icon. Where is that? We do it in the very first cutscene, boot intro. What is the name of that sequence step? I don't use it enough. Icon reveal. We're looking for icon reveal. First timeout, add cutscene. Oh my goodness, it's in combat. Okay, that needs to get moved at some point, but I'm not sure what the ramifications of that will be, so we're going to leave it for now. This one also is another good candidate for changing this to be a single entity so that I don't have to put in a list every single time. And we use a little explanation point. What was that called? Question? Question icon. Drixie wants to make more of these. She thinks that they're very helpful. And right now we really only use this one, but I think we have a couple that I could be using. Yeah, we have a heart one, and then we have a sweat drop one, which I think I would want to animate that one like spawning in and then sliding down instead of the question mark, which is like almost like a pop up and like bounce. Could use an anger one. There's a couple of little emotes that we could make use of for sure. Okay, so we'll do this dialogue. We'll break this up here. And then we need to do a cutscene trigger. Cutscene, trigger cutscene, and we want to do a immediate blocking. Oh, we're not using it here. Teleport generic. And we're not always sure which location we're going to send the player to. So I don't think I want to hard code in. Like, part of me feels like we do this every time and I have to keep adding this transition to dungeon. But I think we don't want to bake that into that teleport because in the future we might be teleporting the player to different locations. Transition to dungeon. Is that a cutscene? No, that has to be backend or base. Base. And we're going to room F8, combat base, revive entrance with a cloud transition screen. Perfect. Very simple, just the question mark to kind of break things up a little bit, but otherwise it's a fair amount of talking. But I think that'll be okay for this one. This will be a priority. I think we can guarantee that this will be after this one. So this can be 996. Okay, and my thought is that this cutscene can happen regardless of the adventurer stuff. And if you have failed to save the adventurer and gotten to the mace pickup cutscene, it'll play. But if you have already seen this cutscene, we'll have a slightly different one for them talking specifically about saving the adventurer. But I think this one contextually still works because it's kind of explaining the time loop. And so if she says, I'll accelerate time, and then like we do the time loop thing of restarting from the beginning, it's kind of explaining the you can save her for the adventurer. Cool. I'm going to say this is good. You get sent down. When you get sent back down, we're going to need another Woods F8 entrance. Where is it? F8. So we have landing 2. I want a landing 3, I think. Landing 3. Woods F8. This will have a trigger of the room name. It will be an intro type. It will be requiring that we have just done first timeout. So the flag for that will need to be set to completed. And then the dialogue for this one is going to be hero goddess and then goddess again. So we can just do this. We'll have Hero do, let's say, right of center for this. Small dialogue's fine. And then stay open and then close all. That works out well. And then Goddess can be, I think for this scene, right of center works best for the alignment. Right of center, stay open, close, and then we move on. Cool. Just a couple of quick more pieces of dialogue after the teleport. Should hopefully not be too overwhelming. Did I make everything right? I think we did. Landing 3 is a bit of a generic name. Maybe there's a better name we could use for this, but I think we'll be fine. It's the third landing. Because this will be a guaranteed landing death after you've been defeated by the slime. Oh, I guess technically they could go in different orders. If you spend time just walking around in circles, you could get this landing first, but it's fine. Okay. We should be able to test that. Let's load back up here and do the mace cutscene, and we should see everything play out with us getting teleported down and getting the second half of the cutscene when we land. All right. And then this will be it. After this, we will be done with, or we'll be taking a break for lunch before a mace, and we want to come in from the west. Yeah, so gonna take a break for lunch here after we finish testing these cutscenes. We'll be back from 3 to 5, so in about 2 hours from now I'll be streaming again, same as always. And then we will be out for Thursday and Friday and back Saturday with a stream with Drixie doing some artwork. We've been off camera working on some character model stuff, so maybe we'll do some of that Saturday, but we will see. But again, I'll be back at 3 in about 2 hours, and we'll probably continue from where we left off here. We'll get into the first boar battle, which should be interesting. We really need an animation for the goddess there to like cast that so it's clear that she's the one doing that effect. Don't know how I feel about the stacking of these dialogues. If we take a look at landing 3 dialogue, if we go, say, top right or top left, I think I like top left a little bit more here. Just space them out a little bit. One thing about this dialogue that's a little weird is Hero reacting to the timer having reset, and if you have fought the first slime, you would already have seen that, but it's possible that like the player notices but Hero hasn't. So like maybe I should call attention to that with something in the goddess's line, but I'll think about it. Okay, cool. So that's it for now. We'll be back, as I said, around 3. We did not end up doing progression tuning. We ended up saving the adventurer. And I think that we'll continue with this at 3 with a part 2. Okay, cool. For now, though, this is going to